Hello, and thank you for stopping by my channel. My name is Valerie Oakley, also known as Coach Val, and today's subject is about self-trust. By the third week of the new year, something usually shifts for people. That excitement has quieted down, motivation starts to feel heavier, and a lot of people start telling themselves that they're already behind. There's that kind of energy in the air. And if that's you, I want to say this to you gently with love. And that is that you're not behind. You're just tired of pushing. So many caregivers, high capacity people, people with many roles, maybe who wear many hats, they don't struggle because they lack discipline. They struggle because they've spent years being outward facing. What I mean by that is that you've been listening for what others need, you've been responding, adjusting, accommodating, and carrying responsibility that was never fully yours to hold alone. Over time, that creates a quiet disconnect. And it's not a disconnect from others, but from yourself. And when you finally slow down long enough to listen to that inner voice, to listen inside, it could feel unfamiliar, maybe even unsettling. Maybe it doesn't even sound like you. Here's why self trust feels hard. Rebuilding that trust within yourself is not hard because you're broken or that something's wrong. It's hard because you've been practicing overriding yourself for so long, it's become a habit. You've learned to keep going. You've learned to stay strong. You learn to be reliable. You learn to meet others' expectations. You're the dependable one. Even when your body, your spirit, or your intuition were asking for something different. So when you pause now and ask, what do I need? What feels true for me? It could be, you could have some hesitation in that. You could second guess yourself, or maybe even have guilt for doing that. And that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It just means that you're out of practice. So, for caregivers, especially, like I said, those high performers, those people who are dependable, always there for others, self trust often collides with guilt. There's this unspoken belief that says, if I slow down, somebody else is going to suffer. If I set a boundary, then I'm being selfish. If I tend to myself, then I'll be letting somebody else down. And you just carry all of that guilt on your shoulders, all that what if something happens to somebody else? You carry all of that. So instead of trusting your inner knowing, you outsource yourself again, being there for somebody else. And this time you're tending to somebody else's needs. And that doesn't mean that you don't care about yourself or that you don't know who you are or that you're grounded in yourself, but it's because you care so much about everybody else. But eventually all that becomes exhausting. Self-trust is not about confidence. It's not about having all the answers. And it's not a loud declaration of certainty of, I know who I am. Self-trust is permission. It's permission to pause, permission to feel, permission to listen without acting immediately. And it's permission to not know everything. It's permission to not know yet. It's learning to sit with your own voice again without rushing to override it, without rushing to be distracted with what somebody else needs. So if you've been feeling behind this month, and that doesn't mean that you failed January, it doesn't mean that you failed this whole year. It just means that something in you is asking for a different pace. You see, peace doesn't come from catching up and crossing everything off your list. It comes from coming home. And sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is to stop striving long enough so that you can hear you again. And this is actually why I created the Caregiver Renewal Series. And we have another session that's coming up real soon. It's a space for caregivers, helpers, multi role people who are tired of holding everything together and ready to rebuild their own inner rhythm without guilt. We have 6 sessions, and over those 6 sessions, we focus on creating space to breathe and reflect, understanding why that guilt shows up for that type of person, learning how to listen to yourself again, restoring energy without cutting yourself off from everybody else or cutting people off, and integrating self care in a way that's sustainable and aligned. This isn't about fixing yourself, it's about returning to yourself. We were never meant to carry the burdens of everybody else. In my faith, it's Christ who was meant to carry those burdens. And so this is a chance to pause and let him. And if that feels like something your nervous system has been craving, you're going to find all the details and all the enrollment information in the description. And like I said, in my faith, that's what we do. But you don't have to be a Christ-centered person to come into this space. This is about coming home to yourself. So you don't need to be further along. You don't need to push harder. You don't need to catch up. You are right exactly where you're supposed to be. You need trust. And trust grows slowly. And it grows slowly through presence and not pressure. So all is well. And you are allowed to move at the pace of healing. Thank you so much for stopping by today. And if anything resonates with you, please be sure to comment and let me know. Like this, share this with somebody who you think may resonate. And especially if you need more support, I'd love to see you in the Caregiver Series or one-on-one sessions, whatever feels most supportive to you. I wish that for you. Thanks again, and I hope to see you next time.